thousands of people have mysteriously vanished in America's wilderness. Join us as we dive into the deep end of the unexplainable and try to piece together what happened. You are listening to Locations Unknown.
Ooh, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Locations Unknown. I'm your co-host, Joe Irado, and with me, as always, is a guy who let Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift have the spotlight for one night by not attending the Super Bowl, Mike Van de Bogart.
Well, this
so nice of you.
Shows you how much you know about football. The Super Bowl hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, that you're going to let them have the spotlight by not going.
I thought, okay.
Yeah, otherwise it'd be all about you, and that's rude.
Yeah.
It's like his night, it's her night. It's mostly her night.
I'm just sick of hearing about Taylor Swift.
Oh, you can't say that. Now our show's ruined. The Swifties are going to come after us like the zombies in World War Z. They're just going to come over the building.
I don't care. That's the hill I'm dying on.
Okay.
Well, thank you once again to all of our amazing listeners for tuning in.
You literally will die on that hill.
Yeah. We've got an exciting show ahead for you guys. This one's going to be a multi-parter. So it's pretty fascinating case. Before we go in here, just a couple Patreon shoutouts. So Leslie Duffy, Jennifer Plazinski, Christina Mancroni, Jordan Perez,
Probably
Mancroni, probably. Jordan Perez, Christine Charney, Jen Calvin, and Stephen Eckert. And a big shout out to Jen Calvin for suggesting this case. I don't know how I hadn't heard of this. It's a really bizarre case, and it's been covered by some of the bigger TV shows in the last couple of years. So really interesting case. But of course, we're going to cover it better than any of them. So if you want to call the show, you can call 208-391-6913. Leave a voicemail.
Especially if you're a Swiftie that now hates Mike, please call the number and tell us about it.
I don't hate Taylor Swift.
I know.
I'm just sick of hearing about her.
I actually like Taylor Swift. Oh, she's a billionaire.
Is she really?
She's a genius. Yeah, she's marketing.
Hey, more power to her.
Heck yeah, she re-uploaded her own music, so she like cut out the middleman. She's like a business savant.
I don't need to hear about her every 5 minutes.
Well.
So, if you want to help support the show, you can visit our Patreon page and sign up. YouTube memberships, premium subscriptions on Apple, or you can buy some sweet swag from our store, including signed or unsigned posters, unsigned or 20, signed or 5.
I was thinking we should actually do a giveaway on the signed ones for anyone that has either video or photo proof of them getting 10 friends to subscribe to our show. We'll send a poster to.
All right. Yeah.
It's got to be video or photo evidence uploaded online, tagging us.
Yeah.
If you can get 10 individual people, and it has to be like verifiable, we'll send you a poster.
All right.
And I'll take care of it so you don't have to think about it.
Sweet. Even better. Real quickly before we get started, we had an update. A lot of our listeners have been emailing us and calling us about Tremel Evans. Sadly, his remains were recently found in Joshua Tree under some really, bad circumstances. It looks like he was suffering from some alcohol withdrawals and decided to go out into nature to which on its own is a really great idea. I'm going to go out into nature and clean up.
Yeah.
But unfortunately,
that's dangerous.
It's dangerous if you're really deep into alcohol. So sadly, his remains have been found.
That was episode 85, I believe.
Yeah, it was last summer.
Yeah,
I think we did
June
that.
14th.
Yeah. And an interesting little tidbit here. I finally got a FOIA response. I issued a FOIA request for Cian McCaughlin. Is that how he said his name? C-I-A-N.
Yes. Yeah.
I issued this FOIA request back on...
That was 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Yep. Let me see. When did I send in the FOIA request? April 19th of 2022. So
got the response, and they
just-
said no.
They denied it
There it is.
entirely. So it said this was their response. It is National Park Service policy not to release documents that are part of an open investigation. Such records, if present, would fall within exemption, yada, yada, yada. So had to wait several years for them just
Find
to
them
tell
to
me
say
no.
Yeah.
So
The efficiency of the government.
yeah. So we will never know what happened with him. I was really interested in learning reading the case files for that one. So
Well, what's cool is not that obviously, but with having so many fans now, I mean, we got several emails and messages about Tremel Evans. I know you already picked it up, but
yeah, probably like 12 or 15.
yeah, what's
between
really nice
comments
is
and-
if we ever do miss something, we know you guys are you're gonna pick up the slack there and keep
Yeah.
us moving along. So that is awesome. That is
Yeah.
fantastic. Thank you very much for doing that.
Yes, thank you. So that is the end of my updates.
No, those are good ones, and yeah, it's a little bit longer because we had to update about Tremel Evans and Kian McLaughlin. But all right, everybody, let's gear up and get out to explore locations unknown. November 17th, 2019. Marshal Iwaasa was visiting his mother and planned to stop by a storage unit he shared with family before returning home in British Columbia, Canada. Days later, his truck would be found in a remote area outside of Pemberton, over 745 miles away. Join us this week for part 1 of the Pemberton Incident. Just so there's no confusion, he lives in Calgary. He was visiting his mom in British Columbia. So
I mean, we've got some
Mike
sticklers. out there.
called me out. I didn't mean to say it like that, but he heard it like that, which means at least 50,000 people will hear it like that. And we'll get at least one comment of somebody saying, I hate your show. Do more research.
I'd like someone just to once say thank you for that correction.
I don't even want to thank you. It's just please tell us what you... when people write, you got everything wrong. It's like, well, it wasn't everything.
Yeah.
Specify. So anyway, the name of the location that we're going to focus on, because this is obviously a big area, we're not going to focus on the entire area, but where the truck was located was the Squamish-Lillooet Regional District north of Pemberton. I'm going to try and throw in the Canadian accent every now and then. I won't do it right. The oots. This is a local government federation consisting of 4 municipalities. So the District of Lillooet, Village of Pemberton, Resort Municipality of Whistler, and the District of Squamish. The sublocation, or where the truck was found, and Mike will get into that a little bit later, is the trailhead to the Brian Waddington Hut. The Brian Waddington Hut is a structure in the Felix Creek on the shores of Long Lake north of Pemberton, British Columbia. At capacity, the hut sleeps 40 people, located near the peak of Mount Argonne, Shadowfax, Gandalf, and Peregrine. The hut is about 15 to 20 kilometers from the main road.
Hey, those names sound familiar.
Yeah, Aragon, Shadowfax, Gandalf, and Peregrine. That's awesome.
Those are all from...
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I stumbled on Aragorn. I can't believe it. He's like the best character.
Yeah.
I just upset more people. You upset Swifties. I upset Lord of the Rings fans.
Hey.
It has 2 access points. The Felix Creek FSR, the main logging road used to access the hut, and the Felix Creek Trail. The FSR ends where the Felix Creek Trail begins. From the trailhead, it's a 2 to 3 hour hike to the hut, which requires online registration for anyone wishing to use it. So here's some interesting facts about British Columbia. It's home to Canada's highest peak, Mount Logan, towering at 19,551 feet. That is no joke. That's a tall mountain. The Great Bear Rainforest in British Columbia is one of the largest temperate rainforests on Earth.
I bet there's a lot of bears in it.
I bet there is. Would you want to guess at the specific kind?
I would feel confident saying grizzlies and black bears.
You better hope they are. You can find Canada's only desert in BC, the semi-arid region of the South Okanagan Valley. BC is home to the rare and elusive Kermode bear, also known as the spirit bear. BC has over 25,000 known species of fungi, making it a hotspot for mycologists. And Mike is also a fun guy. BC offers world-class skiing and snowboarding in Whistler, which hosted the 2010 Winter Olympics. Actor Ryan Reynolds and actress Pamela Anderson are both from BC. BC's lush forests are home to bioluminescent mushrooms that glow in the dark. I saw those on the new Planet Earth series on
that would
Netflix.
be pretty trippy.
That's so awesome. They're so cool.
Yeah.
The Sasquatch or Bigfoot is rumored to roam the forests of BC. It's rumored to roam a lot of forests.
Yeah, he's everywhere.
Yep.
Or she.
Yeah. Yeah. The haunted Fairmont Express Hotel in Victoria is a popular spot for ghost hunters. All right. So we're going to talk about a description of features in South Chilcotin Mountains Park. It's about 33 miles to the northwest of the hut as the crow flies.
Sometimes we do this because the location where the case actually happened is, it's not a park or a forest.
Yeah, it's just like an area, so we'll just do the most popular one nearby.
Yeah, it's the closest park I could find near there. So,
yep. I'm sure we'll get in trouble. The dormant climate of the Chilcotin Highlands and the ranges is a leeward rainy climate influenced by wet coastal air from the west, cold plateau air from the north, and dry interior air from the east. The South Chilcotin Mountain Park is located on the leeward side of major coastal ranges and has less precipitation relative to the mountains to the west. The South Chilcotin Mountain Park has moderate temperatures and low precipitation during the spring and summer seasons. The fall and winter seasons are influenced by warm Pacific air, resulting in cooler temperatures and higher precipitation. The growing season is short, lasting approximately 3 to 4 months from the end of spring to the end of summer. At lower elevations, there is a frost in most months. At higher elevations, frost is almost daily. Winds are present throughout the year, more at higher elevations. The different amounts of precipitation on the two sides of the mountains and the variation in temperature due to the elevation create distinct environments in the South Chilcotin Mountain Park, resulting in biodiversity regarding plants and wildlife. So some of the terrain of British Columbia it's customarily divided into three main regions: the interior, coast, and the lower mainland. These are broken up by loose and often overlapping systems of cultural geographic regions, often based on river basins but sometimes spanning them. The Canadian Rockies, Coast Mountains, and Inside Passage provide some of British Columbia's renowned and spectacular scenery. In the southwest corner of BC, the lower Fraser Valley forms a flat, fertile triangle of intensively used land. The city of Penticton and the small towns Oliver and Osoyoos have some of the warmest summer climates in Canada, although the hottest spots are the towns of Lillooet and Lytton in the Fraser Canyon. Nearly all of the coast, including much of Vancouver Island, is covered by a temperate rainforest. 1/3 of the province consists of barren alpine tundra, ice fields, and glaciers. There's a crazy thing I saw about Canada, and they talk about, although Canada is obviously on top of the United States, most of the people live below the parallel line. That's like the top of the left side of the country. So, it's kind of flat.
Like Maine.
If you drew a straight line across, it's like some ridiculous percentage of Canada's population is below that line. Well, so everything above that is just like nothing.
I mean, probably their three biggest cities, Toronto, Calgary, and Vancouver, are all below that.
Yes.
So, and I mean, it's barren.
There's a lot of open land.
Yeah.
Very cool areas. They're very hostile, and
I
want to go, but I'm also scared to go.
I did a hiking trip in Mount Assiniboine in Alberta.
Yeah, I would love to do that.
Yeah.
I've only gone, besides going to, where was I just going? I was in Banff. I went to Banff. Outside of that.
It's when you hit the big cow.
Yeah. I did that on a res land in Montana.
Yeah.
I would go up to Boundary Waters canoe area, and we would canoe up for like 2 days deep into Canada. So it's
Yeah.
not that far when you're in a canoe, but I remember how remote it was, and it was
Yeah.
amazing. The animals are amazing up there. So speaking of animals, what are some of the animals that we might see in this area, Mike? Well, we have mountain goats, California bighorn sheep. They are far from home. Grizzly bears, black bears, you got them right, wolverines, bald and golden eagles. So difficulty in general, the area where Marshal's truck was found is an incredibly remote location in Canada. When the family left for the site, it took them almost 30 hours to reach his truck.
Yeah, it's very remote, very hard to get to. When I get in the timeline, some of the search and rescue vehicles got damaged just getting up there. So it's desolate. I mean, you're not probably going to see a lot of people when you go up there.
Yeah, there's some spots up there that you can't recreate in America.
Yeah.
We're not that vast, relatively speaking.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it probably is similar to like if you're in like northern like Alaska, like that remote.
yeah. That's
least
that's
that's
a
how
good
I
point.
d-
Yeah, like
how it-
Alaskan Triangle type area where
Yeah.
people go missing constantly.
At least that's the impression I got. I've never been there, but it just seemed based on what everyone was saying, even locals, a lot of locals that have lived there their entire lives didn't even know about this section until this happened.
There you go.
I mean, that's how
pretty remote.
Yeah.
All right, so some tips and safety for that area. Persons visiting the South Chilcotin Mountain Park are, it's either Chilcotin or Chilcotin.
And this will be kind of for this general region.
Yeah. It is a wilderness area, as we said, without staffed facilities or regular ranger patrols. So you are out on your own.
Yeah.
That is it. Visitors should be self-sufficient, ready for any type of weather condition. Weather conditions can change suddenly in the area, and storms with snow are common at higher elevations, even in the summer. Encounters with grizzly bears are not uncommon in the park. Visitors should make their presence known while they travel through the park and follow proper food prep and storage procedures. In consideration of wildlife and safety hazards related to bears, dogs should not be taken into the park. Dogs will start barking at them, could scare them and trigger the bear, and that's not a good. Dog won't win.
No.
Please keep to established trails, especially in the grasslands and alpine areas. You do not want to damage them. Leave no trace.
Yep.
Bring your own drinking water, as potable water is not available in the park. Water is available from numerous lakes and streams and creeks, so you should filter, boil, or treat the water prior to consuming. So, Mike, tell us about Marshal.
Yes. So this multi-part series is going to start with Marshal Iwaasa. He was born January 3rd, 1993. He went missing on November 17th of 2019. His remains have not been found. He was a male, age 26. If you're watching this on YouTube or any of the other platforms, Joe is going to be going through a lot of different pictures. He's 5'11", 170 pounds. He had curly brown shoulder-length hair, brown eyes. He was last seen with his dark blue 2009 GMC Sierra with license plate BLL-1099. Family described him as a quiet and reserved guy, but very gentle and kind. Medical issues, didn't find any like medical issues in the sense that it would impair his ability to hike, but per some of the police reports, it did appear that he was going through some stress in his life, maybe some depression. He was at a college, and he decided not to enroll for the next semester, and didn't tell his family. His family didn't know that he did this, and so the police, sorry, I got distracted.
Yeah.
A window looker. The police kind of just said that, he was a lot of stress going on, may have been depressed. This might have factored into what happened to him. We don't know. So, occupation, hobby, he played football and rugby in high school. After graduating high school, he first worked at a local grocery store, and then he started to do manual labor jobs in southern Alberta. And Southern Alberta is primarily known for its oil and gas industry, so there's a lot of manual work for jobs on like power lines and rigs. So they didn't say that's specifically what he was doing, but if he was doing manual labor, there's a good chance he was working in the oil industry. And he had recently enrolled in the IT program for software development at Southern Alberta Institute of Technology and then moved to Calgary. But like I said, at the time of his disappearance, he hadn't re-enrolled in the next semester, and his family didn't know that. So I got the impression he was a pretty smart guy when it came to technology. He built his own computer. He was, right before he disappeared, he was working on writing his own, like, it's a passion project. He was writing a video game, like creating it, like all the software,
Like coding it,
coding it
and building it himself.
Yeah,
that's
so
awesome.
Yeah, and he only had a semester or two at this tech school, so obviously he had these skills just through osmosis growing up. So pretty smart guy. Coding's not something everybody can just pick up. So. Smart guy, nice guy. Everybody liked him. So friends and family said he was big into the outdoors. We don't know his, air quotes, skill level at hiking, but I think it's safe to assume that he was, pretty comfortable hiking in the wilderness. It seemed like he had a lot of the gear necessary. I think he should have had the gear with him on this trip down to where his parents live. So. We'll jump right into timeline. So this timeline starts November 17th of 2019. So Marshal spent most of the day doing laundry and chores at his house in Calgary, Alberta, that he rented. And that evening, he drove his dark blue GMC Sierra about 2 hours south to a city called Lethbridge, where he'd grown up. That night, Marshall spent some time at his mom's house helping her with a computer problem, and he left around 11 p.m. At the time, he was wearing a green hoodie, black pants, red high-top sneakers, and he had told his mom that he needed to get something from a storage locker that he shared with his sister for the past 6 years. This was located in an industrial area of town on the north side between Sharon and Churchill. It was about 15 or 20 minutes away. So
he went to his mom's. He's helping her with the problem.
Yep.
And then he was going to hit his storage unit.
Yep. And then he was planning on driving back to Calgary.
Okay.
So, and I'll get into why he was at the storage unit here in a second. So between, it's late night on the 17th into the 18th of November 2019, from 11:30 p.m. to 6 a.m., on the 18th, he tried to gain access to his storage locker numerous times, but unfortunately, from what I read, the facility was closed and didn't open until 6 a.m., so the keypad wasn't letting him in. He was eventually able to gain access at around 6 a.m., and they know this because the keypad kept a activity log of everyone trying to get in, and the family got access to this. So that's how they know that. And he stayed for just over 2 hours.
So he waited all night long.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he stayed for about 2 hours and left around 8:24. Like I said, he was planning to head back to Calgary. And unfortunately, they were not able to get any video footage of him leaving, going to or from the storage unit, because by the time they found out he was missing and everything, the people at the storage unit said the surveillance footage had been erased, which I think is probably pretty common.
Yeah, if it's an overwriting
you'd probably save a couple days, and if nothing happens...
How long was it again?
His truck wasn't found until a week later. So...
I'm just trying to think of when we installed security. We had a 2-week run, but we wanted a longer one. If you're going for the cheapest, it's usually only a few days.
Well,
and it overwrites itself unless you save an event.
I'll get into this later, but the family was hitting roadblocks when they tried to go to commercial facilities that had cameras requesting their footage. They were all saying, you can't have it unless you come here with a police warrant. and the police wouldn't issue that because they didn't consider this a criminal case.
That's
so
weird. Not a single private business was like, yeah, let's look and just give you.
some of them refused. So
That's very interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
But I have no indication that that's what happened to the storage locker. I think what happened was it was just too late, and the footage was
it just overwritten.
overwritten.
So for those who might not know, if you have a digital recording device that records all your security cameras, usually it doesn't save everything. Well, it's saving all the time, but when the disk hits a limit, it just overwrites the oldest video with the newest, and it constantly runs unless you specifically save a portion of that video before it overwrites itself.
So yeah, like if someone went to the storage facility and broke into a locker,
they would the next day.
They would the next day go look at that footage. But
Yeah.
if it's just just people coming and going to their lockers, they're not going to save that.
Yeah, and if they finally say, hey, there was a guy that went missing a week ago, and they'll be like, sorry, we only have 5 days of recording before it's gone.
Yeah, and nothing appeared to have been taken from the locker, including his camping gear. His family said that he was there to get a box that had a piece for his computer that he built. Apparently, something was broken and he needed to send it back to the manufacturer, so that's why he was at the storage unit. Nothing,
Did they say like that thing was gone?
They didn't mention if he had that or not, but
Okay, maybe they would have mentioned if it wasn't. Like they said,
Yeah.
he came here for this thing and it wasn't even taken.
yeah. So I mean, that's why
Okay.
theoretically he was there. So all right. So yeah, like I said, let's jump ahead to November 23rd of 2019. So in a remote area outside of Pemberton, British Columbia, about 31 miles north of the town of Pemberton, and over 745 miles away from that must be Calgary. Marshall's burned out truck was discovered by a group of hikers in the densely wooded area at the trailhead to the Bryan, how'd you say it? Waddington Hut.
I can't see it right now.
So in this, when you look on a map, you'll see the logging road goes to where it kind of turns into a trail, and this is the Felix Creek Trail, which then goes to the hut. And I think Joe's here we go. We got All Trails, still waiting for that sponsorship.
Yeah, seriously, All Trails. What's going on here? All right, so we have
So he would have probably come from the right, and
Blackwater Creek Road.
I don't know for sure. He could have come from...
That looks like the most mainish road.
Yeah, so then this is the road he would have driven up on, and then kind of where that green dot is where it turns from a road to more of a trail. And this is the general area where his truck was found burned out. Joe's got pictures of it, and it's totally burned. His stuff is just strewn out. We actually have a video of Joe wants to play it. Make sure to turn the sound up.
All right.
This is video from the family.
And then it just abruptly stops the end where Marshall's truck is.
Look how dense this is.
Oh, yeah, they had like a bunch of off-road vehicles just to get there.
Yeah.
And there's literally nowhere else you can go once you're there.
Got the DJI Mavic up there.
You just keep walking here.
Was that log there? Like he
And you're
drove
at the
over the
end.
log?
No, this is like the next summer
Okay.
they're out here because you saw the rust.
Yeah, but it was all burnt out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the tires are melted off.
Completely gutted.
So, the truck's completely empty. It's got some water in it because Mike said it's been there for a while, but it's rusted out.
I'll get into some details too that are interesting.
Yeah, it's entirely burnt. It's just the only thing that's left is metal. Everything else is burnt out. So it was completely on
Notice
fire.
anything missing from the dash?
Glass completely melted.
Besides the dashboard?
No steering column.
Well, that's rubber.
No, steering column's metal.
Oh,
get
the
into it.
column, not the wheel.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
There's other parts missing too.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah, this was in the summer of 2020. The family didn't get up there until the middle of 2020. I'll get into all that here. So, like I said, a group of 5 hikers stumbled across this truck. This is from 2019, so you can see how different it looks. It's not as rusted, it looks fresh.
Yeah, it's more white.
I mean,
from
you
the
see
burn.
the char on the ground still.
Yeah.
The hood's still there.
Yeah. This is the next year then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the next summer.
Yeah, you can see how rusted out it is.
And then you can see a picture. Joe just had a picture of what the truck looks like. That's his actual truck, what it looked like before it was burned out.
All right.
So
I'll keep flipping through while you're going.
So the hikers, when they discovered this truck, they took a bunch of photos and then reported it to the police. And we actually have one of the hikers left a Facebook post. I think
James Stark.
Yeah, James Stark.
Yeah, this is his post right here.
Okay, and then he left some text. I don't know where that is, but I'll read he did an interview with CTV News. It's fine. Yeah, so James Stark is one of the 5 hikers who took the photos of Marshal's torch truck. He then posted them to the South Coast Touring Facebook group, and this was a quote he gave to CTV News. "It felt like a crime scene and had a very eerie feeling," he said in the post. According to the CTV News article in which Stark was interviewed, nobody except he and his group had been registered to stay at the hut. They were on their way there when they made the discovery. So, like I said, clothing and items were scattered around the scene. Some of the items that people found were 3 smashed phones, lots of clothing thrown all over the place, an Xbox, a PlayStation, and an expired passport. Items that family said were missing that should have been there were his contact lenses, contact solution, a Mountain Hardware Scrambler 30 backpack, his college-issued Samsung laptop, his wallet, and his most recent phone, a pearl-colored Samsung Galaxy S6, were all missing and have never been found. And initially, Marshal's family identified the gaming consoles as belonging to Marshall, but then in January, his sister Paige finds Marshall's Xbox and PlayStation at his house and confirms that the ones found at the scene did not belong to him. So there's other people's stuff mixed in here too, which makes it even more strange. And there were also truck parts missing. So I had hinted at this in that video. So including the steering column. And this is actually a significant clue.
I was going to say, I was wondering if there's some relevance to that.
Yeah, so a lot of times criminals will remove the steering column from a vehicle that they plan on burning as a way to make sure that DNA isn't found, because I was doing research and there are actually cases where murderers were caught because of prints they were able to take off the steering wheel. So a lot of times they will take the steering column out of the car before they burn it. And also burning cars is a very common way that people murder other people.
Destroy evidence.
One of the news reports I was watching on this had mentioned that like the last 5 or 6 years in this region of Canada, there were like 5 or 6 murders where the car was burned and the body was found in the car, like totally burned. So
were they similar?
No, it was all different places, not related, but they're just saying that
different places, but if it's all the same way, like could they have
there was no connection to it, but it just other than the fact that it's a common way in remote areas where there's a murder. A lot of times they find a car with somebody burned inside of it.
You can imagine no one's going to see it, so you don't have to fear of people calling fire department and they'll come put it out in time.
Yeah, so that's strange. And then in subsequent searches, law enforcement discovered a partially burnt trail of clothing leading away from the burned truck, ending in a nearby creek. However, when they brought searchers out to dive into the creek, they didn't find anything else. So that's another really bizarre thing that they found. Just a trail of partially burnt clothing leading to a creek. Almost makes you think like, was somebody on fire?
Yeah, and
it was crawling, like running to the creek to jump in. We don't know, but it's just it's strange. So, like we said, this site is approximately 14 hours from Lethbridge, where his parents live, and that was the last place he was seen about a week prior. Another strange thing was there was no video footage of Marshall or his truck or any records of him filling up gas between Lethbridge and Pemberton. And like we said, that's a 745-mile drive, and he's in a big pickup truck. There's no way you could do that on one tank of gas. He would have had to fill up at least probably a couple times to make it, at least once or twice. And the last activity in his financials was November 15th. So there was no activity.
So if he did, he was cash only?
Cash only, or someone else did. We don't know. But in none of the gas, they weren't able to get any CCTV footage from gas stations along the way. And
I'm gonna refrain from theories.
Yeah.
Until the end. Yeah, I know this is multiple part, but we should do a theories at the end of each one.
And then in the final, I think this will be a 3-part series, and then in the final episode, we'll tie a bow on it and explain to people how it's all connected.
All right.
Because there is a lot of connections.
All right.
So
try your best not to.
I know.
Spoil them ahead of the 3rd episode.
I won't. I'm going to hint. I will hint at a few of the connections at the end, but that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's strange that there's no footage of him. Every gas station has cameras. You got to imagine. I know it's a more remote part of Canada, but there had to have been a number of gas stations on the way. And his truck filled up somewhere, because there's no way he would have made it there in one tank of gas. So that's strange. His sister also said that she was quoted, after visiting the scene in July, she's confident that Marshall was not there alone, if at all. This case needs to be pushed into criminal. I will not be okay with this until we have answers, and won't stop until we do. So, November 25th, 2019, after the hikers reported their discovery to the police, British Columbia Royal Canadian Mounted Police, I believe that's what RCMP stands for. Can you
Mounties?
Can you Google that for me, just so I don't keep saying it wrong?
Yeah,
if I am wrong. So they spent
Royal Canadian Mounted Police. You could just say Mounties.
I'm just gonna say RCMP.
Say Mounties.
Mounties.
They're Mounties.
What movie was that? Super Troopers.
Well, it's a lot of movies, because that's their short term. I'm pretty certain.
Or was that Beer Fest? I don't know. So the Mounties spent 2 days attempting to access the site. One of their vehicles had been damaged during the initial attempts. When they arrived on November 25th, more photos of the scene were taken. Now, it was not known at this time, but something had happened in the immediate vicinity of the truck in those 2 days. It's now November 26th of 2019. So Marshall's sister and mother, who are in Hawaii, receive a call from police asking if they know where Marshall is. They are informed that Marshall's truck has been found in a remote area of Pemberton, British Columbia. And this is a quote, I believe, from his sister. She said, "I didn't realize how crazy it was, how it was burnt out, and I don't think I imagined that, but we definitely knew it was weird for his truck to be there without him." And her initial thought was that Marshall's truck had been stolen and that Marshall would probably find out soon. Once I got that call, I ended up calling my cousins and Marshall's friends and asking if any of them had talked to him, she said, asking if they knew where he was. And she ended the quote saying, Lethbridge is a pretty small town. Marshall's family immediately began searching for him, and he was reported missing that day. It's now December 4th, 2019. The RCMP announced that the initial search for Marshall had been suspended due to ongoing snowmelt. And that month, they turned it over to the Lethbridge Police Service, so the local police service. This is a quote from the Mounties. "We've ceased our efforts to search in this area because we have exhausted the area. We've searched the area we believe he may be in, and aside from that, without any indications to point us to another specific area, it would be searching the areas of British Columbia, which would not be practical. However, we will continue to evaluate and information that comes to us And if we find other areas to search, we will definitely look at that. So,
That's like Canadians' way of saying we can't exhaust any more resources.
yeah, and during this initial search, they notified the border to make sure that he didn't try to cross into the United States, and the U.S. Border Patrol confirmed that he never legally entered the United States, and they also checked pawn shops in Canada to see if any of the stuff that was missing had turned up. And unfortunately, they all reported that they had not received any of that stuff. So it is now January of 2020, and his sister visits Marshal's house. I mentioned this earlier, and she discovers that the Xbox and PlayStation are still there. So obviously the ones that were found where the truck was were not his. So that's interesting. Let's see here. It's now January 25th and 26th. So family, friends, and community members were now searching for Marshal in the Lethbridge, Alberta, out of the Helen Schuler Nature Center. Wings of Mercy provided drone support. Alex McNeil provided canine support, and Kelly James provided SAR coordination. What you clicking over there?
I've got a little thing. Sorry, am I distracting you?
Yeah, it's very distracting.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is showbiz. Get it together, man.
Stop clicking stuff. It is now May 21st, May 22nd of 2020. People are back out there searching around the truck site. So the truck is still there, hasn't moved. On Friday, May 22nd, the truck site and surrounding areas searched using cadaver dogs. I mean, that's great they're doing that, but that long after he went missing, I don't know what the purpose of that would be, I guess.
I want to understand why it took so long.
Well, I mean,
I know why they gave up, but like it sounds like they brought in like third-party groups to help out significantly later.
Well, what happened was the Mounties did the initial search, and then the weather got really bad, so like it became inaccessible.
Oh, so like they probably went out the next time they could?
So yeah, search and rescue called off the search.
Okay, so it's that remote.
Yeah, so it was that bad. They said we can't search anymore until the weather gets better. So they called off the search, and they had told the family, "Don't come up here right now. While we're searching." And then it got so bad that no one went up there. So the family really didn't get up to the truck until the summer of 2020, and they actually. Law enforcement kicked off the search again in the summer of 2020. So
that's wild. So it just was inaccessible.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
that's so remote.
And it's just the conditions were just heavy snow and just you can imagine it took them. I think
if locals can't make it.
Yeah. It took them the family said their first trip up there in the summer, it took them 30 hours to get to the truck site.
Jeez.
It's just that tough a terrain. And you got to use all 4x4 vehicles. You're not going to get up there in just a regular vehicle.
For 700 miles.
Well, 700 miles from Lethbridge. The hard part is from Pemberton up to the drive up to the area.
Oh, so that wasn't even like the Lethbridge to the truck. It was from Pembridge to the truck.
Lethbridge to Pemberton is about 745 miles, and then the truck was located about 31 miles north of Pemberton.
So it took them...
Yeah, take logging roads up to where the trailhead is.
It took them an hour a mile?
Yeah.
Basic, averaging like a mile an hour?
They said it was that slow.
Wow.
So
okay, yeah, so you're not getting up there in winter.
Now, I don't know if it's always that slow. It could have been just the conditions were bad.
Yeah, if they're saying snow melt like the beginning of summer,
they
probably have a significant amount of runoff.
Probably real soupy.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the truck site was searched using cadaver dogs, in May of 2020. On Friday, the Iwaasa family is informed by LPS that the search had been completed, that nothing was found, and that RCMP had searched extensively and were now done with their search. But now again, June 24th of 2020, another exhaustive search involving the Lethbridge police, members of the Pemberton RCMP, and surrounding detachments, 12 police officers in total, along with 15 search and rescue personnel from Pemberton and Squamish, kicked off. A helicopter and all-terrain vehicles were used to access the site, and police said that RCMP fire investigators, several private investigators, and members of the Canadian Search and Disaster Dogs Association would be conducting a ground search. The search with the RCMP fire investigator 7 months after Marshal disappeared was the first attempt by police to investigate the cause and manner of the fire that destroyed Marshal's truck. I'll get into this later, but the family was a little perturbed that it took them 7 months to get a fire inspector out there to investigate it.
Yeah.
Even if they don't think his disappearance was criminal, the fact that someone burned a vehicle, that is a crime.
Yeah.
And this area, I think they have a strict no fire policy a lot of the time of the year. So,
well, based on the forest fires we saw last year, I would assume they'd take it pretty seriously.
It's amazing. Probably, maybe because it was later in the year in November, it was a little wetter out, but you can imagine a truck burning like that could just start a forest fire easily in some areas.
Sure.
Like we said, they got the fire investigator up there finally in June of 2020. And so now we have a press release from the Lethbridge police. So they write, in examining Iwaasa's personal affairs in the months leading up to his disappearance, including interviews with close friends, as well as financial, medical, and social media activity, there is evidence to suggest he was experiencing stress in his life and had become withdrawn. Police say an examination of the vehicle and the area at the time offered no evidence to suggest criminal offense had been committed, and no evidence to suggest that anyone other than Iwaasa was present when the vehicle was burned. To date, police have looked into and checked all available avenues and known sources of information to determine Iwaasa's movements, including CCTV footage from businesses, highway traffic monitoring images, National Park gate camera footage, and made requests for dash cam footage from members of the public. At this time, there is no known CCTV footage of Iwaasa or his vehicle after he went missing. It is now July 3rd of 2020. And this goes from July to August. So Marshal's family travels from Lethbridge to the truck site for the first time. This is that video Joe showed earlier. And this is where I said it took them 30 hours to get to it. So 4 Low BC provides assistance with 4x4 vehicles to access the site. On August 8th of 2020, Marshal's family, now this is really interesting. Marshal's family releases the photos of the site taken on November 23rd and 25th, highlighting the missing, moved, and damaged items between the two sets of photos. So what they found out was you have the initial photos that the hikers took when they found the truck, and then police came up there a couple days later and photographed the area, and a lot of the stuff was moved. So somebody had been up there moving things around and rummaging through things and placing things in different ways than the way the hikers had found it. So,
and they know that the hikers didn't do it?
They know it wasn't the hikers. Yeah, Joe's looking at it now. So they know the hikers didn't do it because they went up there, took the photos, and came back out and reported it to the police. And the hikers explicitly said, we didn't touch anything. It felt like a crime scene. And they felt some eerie feeling just being there. They weren't sure that whoever did this, were they still in the area?
Yeah.
So they just wanted to get the hell out of there. And they were the only people booked at the hut at that time. So there were no other hiking groups that were registered that were going up there.
Oh, so they never went. They saw this and then turned around and came back? Okay.
Now, that's not to say people weren't out there hiking, but this is such a remote area. And the time of year, I mean, and it was only 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
So this is very odd. And we're looking at pictures right now of
yeah, it looks like this cooler got overturned.
Things were like rearranged.
Yeah.
Yeah, so very strange. And that's not to say someone hiked through there and saw this and rummaged
through it. Yeah, it could be innocuous. It could be,
or it could.
Somebody got wind that they went up there and they went to like double check the scene.
Yeah, who knows? But
all right.
So, yeah, there's a lot of weird things in this case. So, so the truck is still out there. He went missing in November of 2019. It is now October of 2013. And this is a post
2019 and 2013? 2023, you mean?
2023. Yeah. Whoops.
He went back in time.
Back in time. So this was a post on a website called the Varsity Outdoor Club. This is a group of nature enthusiasts that maintain hiking trails. And this was a post by a private citizen that stated that the Waddington Hut's roof had collapsed due to heavy snowfall that spring and was in need of repair. While supplies were being airlifted via helicopter, Marshal's truck was chopped up and hauled off to a local landfill. According to this private citizen, the truck was leaking toxic chemicals, including lead from the battery, and was deemed an environmental hazard and should not be left on the trail. And he also said that people had started filling it with trash as they were hiking by it, not knowing that this was involved in an open disappearance.
So people are just dumping their crap
into it? People are just
dumping
garbage into it. So of course, these people that ran this, club deemed that the best scenario that, they said they knew about the case and they knew that basically the search was done and it's been out there for 4 years. The guy, they interviewed the guy that cut it up, and he's like, it's if the family's still hoping to get DNA off this truck. It's been sitting outside for 4 years, like getting snowed on, rained on. People, and he's like, now people are throwing trash in it.
Yeah, they probably were rooting around in there.
He said hikers would climb on it and take pictures, and so it's been, rummaged through dozens of times by random
crime
people.
Scene was
the crime scene, whatever
gone.
Evidence was there is gone now. So he's, and it's blocking this forest road. So I'm just kind of shocked it was just left there that long. Like
nobody else wanted to bring it in.
Like the authorities didn't get rid of it, or they didn't force the family to go get it.
It's that hard to get out there. It's like just.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the same if this happened in a national park.
Well, in Canada, what's his face is the bus.
The bus
from Into the Wild, the movie.
Isn't that Alaska?
Yeah, it was Alaska.
Yeah.
So I mean, they left that out there.
Yeah,
they only flew it out because so many people are trying to get to it. They're having to do rescue missions constantly, so they got rid of the bus.
Was that in Denali?
I don't know exactly. I'll look it up while you keep going. Yeah.
I think it wasn't.
But I mean, that's where I'm wondering is when it's that far out, they're just we'll leave it and let nature take its course.
Yeah. But yeah, so either way, the truck was finally removed in late 2023. So that kind of wraps up the timeline. I've got some what I've called things that don't make sense section. So one of the things that doesn't make sense to me is the lack of CCTV footage. 2019, there's cameras everywhere in public.
It was near Denali.
Okay.
They had to airlift it out.
Oh, there's a video of them airlifting it.
Yeah, I mean that's where.
Where do you think they took it?
It's in a museum.
Oh, it is.
I do know. I don't know where. I know they did that, but 15 people had to be rescued trying to reach it to take pictures. Our buddy Ryan Barber has a picture in front of it.
Oh,
he hiked out there and didn't have to get rescued.
Me and Flavio hiked in Denali. We should have tried to find it.
Yep.
Probably would have ended up lost.
Yeah, probably. We would have done an episode where I'd just be jeering you for an hour. Be like, hey, remember that one time?
Yeah.
So
okay. That's too bad. I always wanted to go hike to that.
Yep. Well, now you can't.
Now I can't.
Well, now you can hike to the museum. Yeah.
I'll wait to do that when I'm in a wheelchair and old.
Yeah.
Still say I did it.
Yep.
So yeah, things that don't make sense to me. Lack of CCTV footage. I can't remember where I saw this and what the number was, but someone published. It's a ridiculous number how many times in a given day you're caught on a camera in public.
Yeah.
It's like in the hundreds.
Yeah, but that's also in like a big city, and this is in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, but I mean, he would have, if he's at a gas station, he would have been on camera.
Yeah.
The storage facility, he should have been on camera. There's traffic cameras that, on major highways.
I feel like that's a time thing, though.
Yeah.
I mean, because all of those, I've never met a single person that stores all of their CCTV footage. It's all rolling deletion. So if that's the case, and this thing took so much time, by the time they get there, it's like too late. Or I'm more shocked by the people refusing to like, and I want to know, like, did they go look? Why wouldn't you go look?
Yeah.
After you've been asked for it to see, like, hey, did you see this type of truck
why
at
wouldn't
this
you
time?
report it?
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I guess, and that we kind of had this issue with the Gwen Hasselquist case. We were trying to find footage of her van going to the bridge, and we couldn't. So next thing that doesn't make sense to me is the no gas fill up. So like I'd said, between his parents' house and Pemberton would have been a 745-mile drive. He's in a big pickup truck. He would have had to fill up. There were no financial records of him paying for gas. And like I said, there was no video footage obtained of him at a gas station. So that's strange.
Unless he used cash.
True. But yeah, and I don't think I read anything that he had pulled cash out. His last financial activity was November 15th, a couple days before he went missing. Another thing that doesn't make sense is the photo discrepancies and the items that weren't his. So another element to his disappearance is the discrepancy between the original photos. So I would love to know who was up there moving that stuff around. Was it just innocent people picking through what they probably thought was garbage? Or was it something more sinister? Were the people who maybe had something to do with this disappearance coming back to the scene to clean up evidence of their involvement? We don't know.
I'll be honest, that one doesn't really make me, like, give me any type of weird feeling.
Now, the other thing that is strange is the items that aren't his that are mixed in with his stuff. So, like the Xbox and PlayStation. I won't go into a lot more detail, but there is additional things that were found that didn't belong to him.
All right. So that's the next part.
That's episode 2.
All right.
So I won't get into that, but
let's do theory so far, and maybe you don't because you know more information.
Well, I still got more things that don't make sense.
Okay, you go over those, and then I'll do my theories just because I don't know this case.
Yeah. We covered this one already, but the missing truck parts, especially the steering column, that's a little strange. Obviously the steering wheel would melt away, but the steering column is metal. It would still be there. Someone removed that from the truck. So why?
I wonder if they're made of aluminum. Because if it was hot enough, that could melt.
Well, I don't Google what steering column is made out of. But
I'm gonna look up that specific truck.
No one mentioned that it was made out of aluminum. I'm pretty sure it's not made out of aluminum. But
there's a lot of aluminum parts on those trucks.
Well, I mean, the skin would be aluminum, and that was still there. So that was interesting. An overall arching issue was with the police, according to the family. So the RCMP had preserved the items, but nothing had been tested for DNA. So the sister said, we don't know whose DNA is up there. We don't know whose fingerprints are up there. They just have items, but they aren't running them. In a press release, the Lethbridge police said the evidence cannot be DNA tested by the RCMP crime lab unless officers have a reasonable ground to believe a DNA-designated criminal offense had been committed. At this time, no such evidence or grounds exist. So they have all this stuff they preserved from the truck site, but because the police declared it to not be a criminal investigation, they won't test it for DNA.
So they have it and they just refuse to test it?
Yeah, all the stuff laying on the ground, they collected and took back and have it preserved, but they will not test any of it for DNA because they said it wasn't criminal, and it has to be a criminal offense for it to be tested.
That's like so wild.
It's like the chicken or the egg thing. So who knows if any of that stuff would have had, fingerprints or anything on it, but I don't know. I think you'd want to test some stuff based on how the scene looked.
Well, the steering column thing, if that's typical of criminal activity, to me, that was my major red flag that this is a criminal event of, okay, you have a burned out car, a missing person, and it looks to be manipulated and such that is very similar amongst other murders that happen in the area. Like, maybe it's not the same person, but it's the same type of profile of you murder somebody, burn their car, and take the steering column out.
Yeah, I think that would be logical to me, but the family is very consistent in their, saying that this is criminal. It needs to be a criminal case. Another issue with the police that the family had was the failure to conduct a fire report right away. And we touched on this earlier too. It is kind of mind-boggling that they find a car completely burned up and they didn't bring a fire investigator out there like right away when evidence was still fresh. That is pretty strange to me.
Yeah.
So, reading on here. So in November, there was no attempt to investigate the source or timing of the fire, yet police said an examination of the vehicle in the area at the time offered no evidence to suggest criminal offense had been committed, and no evidence suggests that anyone other than Iwaasa was present at the vehicle when it was burned. And I've got some more. So this is interesting. So the family feels the police just didn't take the case seriously. So the family hires private investigators, and they go up and investigate the car like a year later. Mm-hmm. And they instantly find a lighter tucked between the seat and the console of the car. And the private investigators state that, in their opinion, the fire had clearly started in the passenger compartment. No matter what else had happened on the mountain, the fire in the truck had been intentionally started.
Oh, well, that's a crime.
Yeah, but the police still said that was not a criminal investigation. But the private investigators clearly found evidence that someone turned a lighter on and stuck it down in the seat to start the fire.
Yeah, it was arson.
Arson is a crime.
Yep.
Even if Iwaasa,
well, maybe not in Canada. Who knows?
even if Marshal lit his own car on fire, that's still a crime.
Yeah, it's still a crime.
So, and finally, this is the spookiest one.
Okay.
It has to deal with Snapchat.
All right.
So, there was a very strange thing that was happening with Marshall's Snapchat account. So as the family, through the grieving process, would occasionally send messages to his Snapchat account. And then they started realizing that periodically the messages would get marked as read, as if someone had his phone and was opening Snapchat notifications.
Ooh. So someone had access to a Snapchat account.
Because his actual current phone was never recovered.
So
and was missing.
It doesn't necessarily mean it's his phone.
Doesn't mean anything, but it is. It does mean something.
It means somebody has access to a Snapchat account.
Yeah. And it is kind of strange that his most recent phone, the one that would have, Snapchat and all the other social media accounts on it, was missing. They never recovered his Samsung Galaxy S6, I believe it was.
Okay.
So, and then again, this is something that I think if it was a criminal investigation, the police could maybe issue a warrant to Snapchat to get like location logs of where someone's reading these messages.
They know where it was accessed from.
Absolutely. They know if it's accessed through a phone, they should know the location generally where that happened. So
he was in oil. You could trick the government and say like, hey, we found the location of some oil. Can you please pinpoint this? And they'd be like, that location needs more freedom, and then they'll send the whole army in, and
Right.
and then we'll get the information we need.
So, before I wrap this up with a little teaser for the next episode, what are your thoughts?
I think is some sort of criminal something.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's got stuff mixed in that's not, and it's not like they can't even access that thing for half a year. So who would go up there and bring a PlayStation and an Xbox?
Yeah.
To me, that means that was with him.
No, all that stuff was with him.
But like, I'm just trying to think of like, okay, like perfect storm situation. That's other people's stuff that got thrown in for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But nobody would bring that stuff up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the steering column thing, since you said that is a common denominator for murders or other criminal activity. I don't know why or what, but I do feel like there is definitely foul play involved.
Yeah, you think like if he was just burning his own car, he would leave the steering column in. That seems like, why would you go through the extra effort? They already know it's your car. You're not hiding anything by...
Why go that far? And why go there? He didn't tell him, it sounds like you only go there because you're hiking to that hut.
Yeah.
But he didn't tell anybody.
No, he was...
And he didn't take his hiking gear.
No, he was going back to Calgary.
Well, that's what he said.
Yeah.
So he took a potentially, 30-hour detour somewhere?
Well, however long it would take him to get up there.
Yeah, even more, less, whatever.
Time, a lot of effort.
Yeah,
And he's not from this area. He's from Lethbridge. Lives in Calgary now. We said locals didn't even know about this spot.
Yeah, I was going to say...
How would he even know to drive up there?
So there's obviously some locals that know. So he's either involved with somebody or something's going on with somebody who does know about that area.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have no idea. I'm going to have to wait for part 2.
Yeah. So, obviously the family, after extensive private searches, is convinced Marshal's body is not up there and that he wasn't alone at his truck. I've heard some articles state that law enforcement thinks it was suicide, but I wasn't able to confirm that, and I don't think this was suicide, like you said.
He's got a bunch of extra weird stuff he didn't normally have.
Yeah. Why burn, why burn your truck?
And that's a lot of effort.
Yeah. Why
to go to an
unfamiliar stuff out?
Yeah, unfamiliar place.
Yeah. So I'm not buying suicide.
I'm not. I agree with you on that one.
So
I think we need fan theories on part 1.
I almost don't. So I'm going to paraphrase.
Please don't give away the next part. I know you're like chomping
at the bit.
You love just be like, hey, we're just going to say it all up front.
I will try to cliff notes this I won't say the name.
Or you could just not say anything. You could.
I could, but
so let's just do that.
I'll really paraphrase.
Thanks again for tuning into the show.
I'll just say this: the next case.
All right, go on. Sorry.
Oh, now I gotta. Part 2 of this gets really interesting. So the subject of
you can stop right there.
Our next case could be very involved with the subject of our first case.
Okay, that's a good teaser. Stop there. I don't even know this. All right. Thanks again for tuning into our show.
I want to talk about it.
We appreciate we will later. We appreciate you all for listening and sharing Locations Unknown with your friends and family. Be sure to like us and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, where you can find all the videos of each episode. Also, if you would like to support the show monetarily, please visit our website or Facebook store to buy some sweet, sweet swag. And additionally, you can subscribe to Patreon, on YouTube, on Apple subscriptions, wherever you subscribe to stuff to have access to special events, additional shows for paid customers only, and the new promotion, if you can get 10 friends to sign up and subscribe to our show, and you have to provide video or photographic evidence that's obvious that they've signed up, I'm going to send you a signed poster, to which one guy commented on Instagram, "How are you fighting off the paparazzi?" To which I responded, "Ninja bodyguards." Lastly, when enjoying the beauty of nature, whether backpacking, camping, or simply taking a walk, always remember to leave no trace. Thanks, and we will see you all next time.